Fuck. God damn it, you piece of shit, Can. That's the one. That's the... This is the one. This is the one. Yeah! Yeah! Woo! I will keep the streets clean, bitch! What was I doing?
When people think of the video game industry's move into the third dimension near the end of the 20th century, I think we can all agree that the same few titles always come to mind first. Mystical Ninja, Glover, Quest 64. Wow, what a time to be a gamer. But one title that may not exactly jump to mind is also one that I can't help but have a whole lot of love for. Megaman Legends was the Blue Bombers' first foray into the wild world of 3D. And before you elitist Megaman snobs start talking about Battle and Chase, no, I do not consider that the first 3D Megaman game. Nobody does but you, Michael, so shut the fuck up. And while this game's legacy primarily consists of vague memories people have of maybe seeing it on the shelf at Blockbuster, I happen to think that this game is worth talking about. I think this game is Capcom's diamond in the rough that never really got the chance to buff out its flaws and shine. I believe it's a mountain of potential with ideas way ahead of its time, and I believe that if Capcom had simply had the balls to commit, we'd be looking at a very different Mega Man IP today. But I'm getting ahead of myself. More than anything, I simply believe that people should give this game a shot, and I'm hoping that this video will convince one or two of you to do so. Hop in the rotation, folks, because I'm about to chief on some gas and kick some Bon ass in Mega Man Legends.
Indications are that the mysterious group of pirates will continue its offensive for the foreseeable future. Recapping our top story of the day, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, the city center was attacked by a group of unknown pirates who demanded they be given the keys to the caves and tunnels underneath our island. The mayor has refused to give in to their demands and is currently under siege alone in City Hall. Local police are helpless in front of the power of the pirates' weapons. It may be only a matter of time before City Hall is destroyed. Hopes are rapidly fading as... I've just been handed this update, viewers. It appears that the robots and machines being used to lay siege to the city have been destroyed by a single young boy. And now, that same boy has come through the gate and is heading towards City Hall. Wait! There he is!
Back in the mid-90s, after the success of the Mega Man and Mega Man X franchises, Capcom producer and Mega Man co-parent Keiji Inafune was struck with the mad desire to take Rockman in a whole new direction, reinvent him from the ground up, create an iteration of Mega Man completely separate in terms of both story and gameplay. And why not? What better time than now? As more and more developers started to experiment with 3D, successful 2D franchises were feeling the pressure of the polygons closing in. Might as well see how the Blue Boy works with the Z-axis, eh? And so in 1997, that's exactly what Capcom did, with the release of Mega Man Legends for the PlayStation 1, the first game in the Mega Man Legends series. Now I call the Legends series a series, but really it's a series in the same way that Sonic Adventure was a series, in that there were only 2 mainline games created before their respective developers called it quits. However, while Sonic Team would continue to scramble, trying literally everything and anything they could think of to force Sonic into 3D, Capcom would do the opposite, and quietly go back to making successful 2D Mega Man titles, the likes of the Zero series, Battle Network, and even further entries into the main series. And this is where I believe the timeline split, and where I think our universe ended up getting the short end of the stick. Now before I go into this, I love Sonic. Love him. I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't think Sonic belongs in 3D. And I know that this isn't a fresh take or anything. This has been a massive point of contention amongst the Sonic fanbase for decades. There are a ton of people who straight up condemn Sega for allowing Sonic to ever set foot in the third dimension. And there are also a ton of people who absolutely adore 3D Sonic, and it shaped their childhoods. I am of the mind where I don't hate 3D Sonic like many do. In fact, I've been known to occasionally boot up Adventure 2 from time to time, but I do believe that 2D Sonic is massively superior to 3D Sonic in just about every way. And this is because I think the core of what makes Sonic inherently fun is rooted in his 2D landscape. Sonic is built on flying through these massive, non-linear zones, finding secrets, hidden pathways, cool jumps. It's about going fast, of course, but it also strikes this amazing balance with exploration that honestly shouldn't work, but it just does. And the reason this is possible, and the reason it works so well, is because they keep this tight, fast-paced gameplay packed within these winding, intricately crafted two-dimensional playgrounds. The developers can plan and account for just about every move the player can possibly make in these zones, and that leaves the player free to make just about any move they can think of. And that's why I think 3D Sonic is always going to be doomed to fall short. There are just too many variables to account for when trying to move that quintessential Sonic experience into a 3D environment. And what this means is that to account for these variables, the developers inevitably have to limit what the player can do with Sonic's movement, where he can go, when, and how he can get there. And ironically, these restrictions end up feeling all the more confining because they're in a 3D environment. This is my primary issue. Limit and confining should never be in Sonic's vocabulary. It goes against the series' core identity. And this is just my opinion, maybe I'm a dumbass on the wrong side of the fence here, but I don't believe Sonic's core identity fits 3D. Now, if we wanted to talk about games whose core identity would be more suited for 3D, what about Mega Man? What about a Mega Man third-person action-adventure shooter? What if we throw in some RPG elements to spice it up? Upgradable weapons and busters? Now you're talking my language. That is the recipe for a successful 3D outing, in this guy's humble opinion. And the Mega Man IP is tailor-made for this framework, and that's why it's so frustrating that Capcom didn't have the same drive that Sonic Team had to make 3D work for Mega Man. I wish I could exist in the reality where Sonic Team went back to honing 2D Sonic to perfection, and Capcom stuck it out with 3D Mega Man because honestly, they were just so close.
What the heck happened to Tron and Bond? They should have been back by now. Oh, those two! No, I told them they were in charge, so I won't worry. I'll let them take care of it themselves. Hey, look at the clock! It's almost time for my favorite show! I almost missed it!
Next story. City Hall was attacked by a mysterious group of assailants this afternoon, but their offensive was beaten back by an equally mysterious young boy, pictured here on screen.
What? What? Who the heck is that blue boy?
Like I said earlier, this is an entirely new Mega Man. And this is true both of the character himself and the world he lives in. There's no Wily here, no robot masters, and no Reploids. In this iteration, the Earth has been doomsday flooded, Wind Waker style, leaving nothing but few and far between islands for the remainders of society to rebuild upon. People are generally happy and live normal enough lives, but the world does have an energy shortage. And this is where the diggers and spotters come in. Diggers are the people who brave the subterranean ruins that exist beneath the surface, the remnants of a civilization that existed before the flood, lost to time. A digger always has a spotter, a partner who guides the digger from the surface, scanning for ways forward, keeping an eye out for traps, or worse, Reaverbots. Yes, in true Mega Man fashion, these ruins are often filled to the teeth with aggressive, deadly robots known as Reaverbots, the origins or purpose of which nobody really knows. But hidden amongst these dangerous ruins are the very things society needs more than anything else: refractors. Refractors are the primary energy source in the Mega Man Legends universe. Big-ass crystal-looking things, refractors are used to power just about everything, from airships to boats to various machinery, and are worth big bucks to the diggers who find them. A common legend among diggers is that there is a refractor hidden somewhere in the world large enough to power all of civilization indefinitely, thus ending humanity's energy issues for good. This mythical refractor is referred to as the Mother Lode and is the end goal of any digger worth their salt. This is Megaman Walnut. He's a digger. He's a spiky-haired shonen amnesiac who resides with his spotter Roll Casket and her grandfather, world-renowned scientist Dr. Barrel Casket. Barrel found Megaman when he was just a baby, abandoned in the Neo ruins, with nothing but a small monkey companion named Data, who speaks a gibberish only Megaman seems to understand. Megaman has no memories of how he came to be in the ruins or who left him there. Barrel takes Megaman in and decides to raise him along with his granddaughter Roll, who was also recently left orphaned. Roll's parents were a well-known digger-spotter team who mysteriously went missing while following a lead on the Motherlode. They're assumed dead. Megaman, Roll, Barrel, and Data travel around the world in their airship, the Flutter, exploring various ruins, finding refractors to make a living, and always searching for information on the Motherlode, and by extension, Roll's parents, who she believes are alive and still out there somewhere. Are you titillated yet? Because I'm titillated. I am in, baby. I am your co-pilot, KG. Take me where you want to go. This is a dope-ass world they set up here, and these are just the basics to ease you guys in. I haven't even started talking about Elysium, the Mother Unit, or the Carbons yet. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. This is all big overarching plot stuff anyway. What's going on in this game? What's going on in Mega Man Legends specifically?
Megaman? Megaman! Megaman! Can you hear me?
Just barely. The transmission isn't too clear.
I got worried because the transmission got cut off suddenly.
The game opens on Megaman neck deep in a ruin, re-establishing comms with Roll as he approaches a large doorway. He enters to find the refractor that they were looking for, a big sparkly blue one, ooh. But of course nothing in life is free, and as soon as Megaman grabs it, the traps kick in. He narrowly slides out of the room and the player finally takes over. The following escape sequence acts as the tutorial for the game. It shows you what these underground ruins are generally going to be like in terms of structure and vibe, throws some Tiny Tim Reaverbots at you, and allows you to get acquainted with Mega Man's controls. We'll talk a little more about that later. Roll, being the best spotter in the business, guides Mega Man straight into the ruins boss. The cool thing about this boss fight is that it basically teaches you how to beat every single boss in the game. But again, more on that later. After playing Kick the Can with this Reaverbot's ass, we head outside. But it turns out he's not super dead yet, so he follows you out. He corners Mega Man, who says psych, and jumps onto the awaiting Flutter. Bitch, you're not even worth the ammo. That was a close call. Thank God we have the Flutter. Honestly, what would we even do without this thing? The Flutter's fucked! After pushing the Flutter to its limit, you crash land on Cadillac's Island. It's a quaint little island with flower shops, museums, libraries, and an ancient treasure sleeping deep beneath the surface linked to a cataclysmic event that would eradicate all life on the island should it ever come to light. There are also lakeside boat rentals. You're pretty much stranded on Cadillac's. The shops don't carry the necessary parts to repair the Flutter, so you guys are going to have to dig for them yourselves. But as fate would have it, you arrive on the island at approximately the same time as our primary antagonists, the familial pirate crew, the Bonds. Air pirates consisting of 3 siblings, Teasel, Tron, and Bonbon are here to loot the island and take the legendary treasure it's said to contain for themselves. Life-ending disaster be damned. Well, we're already here. Flutter's not going anywhere. I guess we'd better step in. This is the primary conflict of the game. At least, most of the game. You spend the first 75% of the game fending off the Bond's various attempts to loot the island's ruins, as you simultaneously continue to search for the necessary materials to fix the Flutter, as well as more insight into this legendary disaster. The writers do a really good job disguising this as a straightforward day-in-the-life adventure of Mega Man and his companions. But as you progress, things slowly start to get a little more foreshadowy. Why is Mega Man able to read the ancient texts in the island's subgates? Why does Juno refer to you as Purifier Model Mega Man Trigger? What is the Mother System? And why does it have the power to vaporize life on an entire island whenever it deems fitting? Who was the civilization that came before? What happened to them, and how are they connected to Mega Man? I'm not going to dive too deep into these questions. This is actually a lot more story than I usually try to include in these videos. One of the main reasons I do this is to encourage people who haven't tried these games before to play them. So I don't like to give too much away, spoiler-wise. But the fact of the matter is, Legends is very dense in terms of overarching narrative and lore, and I feel I had to get across how much rests beneath this game's surface content. Capcom was really trying to give this series legs. They leave the player with way more questions than answers, and perfectly set up the events of Mega Man Legends 2. But having a fun and interesting story is just one side of the Zenny. Let's take a look at Mega Man Legends gameplay. Tank controls. Yup, let's rip that band-aid off right now. No, don't leave! They're not that bad. They are bad. They're annoying as fuck, and definitely make any kind of quick reactions to the left, right, or rear virtually impossible, which is super dope in situations when you're surrounded. And it's a real bummer because this game hit shelves when Sony was like 45 seconds away from dropping the dual analog controller. The implementation of which would fix like 80% of the issues I have with this game. How do I know? Because I'm one of the 7 people on planet Earth who have played Mega Man Legends 2, which has the dual analog controls. It is a completely different experience and fits Mega Man's combat and movement so much better than these slow, clunky diarrhea controls. If they had simply waited for Sony to drop the dual analog and applied those controls to Legends 1, I think this game would be revered today as an amazing leap to 3D for Mega Man, on par with Mario and Zelda, instead of being a half-remembered fever dream to most people. I honestly believe this game is held back that much by its control scheme. That being said, it is doable. You eventually get into a kind of flow with the analog stick and the L and R buttons that allow for somewhat smooth movement around enemies and bosses. There's even a snap 2 button combo to get the camera facing whatever direction Mega Man's in, which helps. In fact, you'll find as early as that first boss that running and strafing around enemies while shooting is pretty much the name of the game in most combat situations. The Bond fights do a decent job in breaking up that tedium. The Marl Wolf requires you to slow it down by blasting its treads first, then target the hatch behind its head whenever it opens. Or when you have to target the specific sections of the Gettle Shaft in order to blast it out of the sky. The Bond battles usually have a gimmick or two to keep things at least a little spicy. The same can't be said for the Reaver bosses. Circle and shoot, sometimes jump. The world will crumble beneath your might. That's another huge issue with this game. It is laughably easy. A couple parts may have given me some trouble as a 6-year-old child, but these days I can blow through this game in an afternoon, completing most of the side content along the way. In fact, just for fun, I tried to see how fast I could go from opening cutscene to end credits. Bear in mind, I am the opposite of a speedrunner. Whenever I play video games, I am smoking weed and vibing, and I was still able to beat this game in just under 2 hours. Maybe I should be a speedrunner. Yeah, this game would have benefited greatly by moving that difficulty up just a couple of notches. Give the bosses a few more patterns, a little more health, just more variety to combat in general would have been appreciated. But again, I believe this all ties back to the controls. I truly believe the developers intentionally designed the game to be this easy in order to account for the slow, clunky controls of Mega Man. Yeah, most enemies can be beaten by running and strafing in a circle because that's basically all you can do, unless you want to stand in free aim with your feet cemented to the ground. Very versatile. They couldn't add any more variety to combat because the player would be stomped immediately by any enemy who was able to get behind them. In fact, I'd confidently say that the vast majority of the difficulty that does exist in this game stems from the player grappling with Mega Man's movement in tough situations. Okay, so at this point you're like, Stoney, why are you even talking about this game if it sucks so much ass? Because it doesn't suck so much ass, just the controls do. This game does not feel good, it is not smooth, and I know that's a huge deal breaker to a lot of people. But if you can push through that, you will find a very fun game in here, I swear. There is so much they get right. Let's start with my favorite part of the whole game, the weapons and items development system. This shit was dope! Throughout the various ruins and subgates you'll be exploring across Catalogs, you'll be able to find all kinds of scrap parts and items that in their initial state are completely useless. However, you can take all of this junk back to Roll, who is fortunately as good at engineering as she is bad at spotting. If you find compatible parts, Roll will be able to create new items, weapons, and upgrades for you. If you find the rollerboard and the old hover jets, she'll be able to make you the jet skates, allowing you to dash through the streets of Catalogs like a bat out of hell. Equally useful are the jump springs. Once you find the spring set in the Carden Forest subgate, this allows the player to jump twice as high, enabling them to access areas previously out of reach. While exploring the underground ruins around Catalogs Island, you'll occasionally run into these big cracked walls blocking your way, with no way to break them. This is a big pain in the butt until you find the blunted drill in the main gate. Roll proceeds to make you the drill arm, and suddenly, you're drilling through walls like you're goddamn Ty Pennington. And the cool thing about this is when you start drilling through these walls, you realize that in addition to accessing new areas, you're also opening pathways that interconnect every ruin on the entire island, including the subgates. Just happening upon that blunted drill hidden in a random hole in the wall led to seamless travel and exploration between all dungeons in the game. That is so fucking cool. This is how Megaman develops his special weapons as well. Finding the guidance unit inside the Closer Woods subgate will yield the Active Buster, arguably one of the best weapons in the entire game. Before going to fight the Marl Wolf, if you take the time to explore the ruins tucked away in the corner here, you'll find the Cannon Kit, which becomes the powered buster that absolutely shreds through the Marl Wolf. This game showers you with rewards for exploring every nook and cranny of it. Sure, they're not all jet skates and active busters, but even the weaker weapons can be useful in particular situations. And even if they are weak, they can be improved by Roll for a fee. Every special weapon has stats that can be upgraded. Range, energy, rapid, special, and attack. Some weapons have fixed stats, like how you can't improve the range on your mines for obvious reasons. But for the most part, you can customize your special weapons all you want. If you're thinking about jacking everything up to full power though, you better have the Zenny to back it up, pal. Some of the prices to improve these stats are insane. Remember the Active Buster I mentioned earlier? It takes a little over 1 million Zenny to fully upgrade every stat on this weapon. For context, I have a hard time keeping around 50,000 Zenny on me at any given time. This is a crazy ask of the player. But it also does a good job of balancing these weapons and ensures the player can't just quickly grind every weapon to max level the second they get it. Likewise, you can upgrade your standard buster with buster attachments. Like the special weapons, your standard buster gun can have its range, energy, rapid, and attack increased. However, unlike the special weapons, these increases are not permanent and are determined by whatever attachments Megaman has equipped at the time. For instance, the sniper scope will add plus 4 to your buster's range, and the auto fire barrel will max out your rapid. The catch is that Megaman can only have 2 buster attachments equipped at a time, 3 if you're able to find the adapter plug. This means you're usually swapping attachments based on your needs in any given situation. This keeps the player on their toes and adds variety to combat that is desperately needed. These are just a few RPG elements that elevate this gameplay exponentially. Unlike OG Mega Man and X, you're just not going place to place blasting robots until you reach your goal. Catalogs is small, but it is surprisingly fleshed out for a PS1 game, complete with memorable NPCs, tons of side quests, and Easter eggs that keep the player engaged and reinforces their connection with the citizens of Catalogs. There's this little girl in a wheelchair who wants to travel the world and be a digger like Mega Man. Unfortunately, the hospital can't afford the equipment necessary to perform the surgery that can repair her legs. But if you go to the mayor and offer to make the required donation, you'll return to the hospital and find the little girl fully healed, as she runs up to you, eager to share her now truly achievable dreams of seeing the world. If you don't complete this side quest, she will appear at the end of the game still in her wheelchair, hopeful that they'll find a cure someday, somehow. You literally have to be made of stone to not make time for this side quest, like Jesus Christ. Once you gain access to Uptown, you'll be able to visit the museum, whose curator is having issues drawing a crowd with their current exhibits. She notices that you're a digger and asks that should you ever find anything interesting underground to please bring it to show her. Throughout your adventure, you'll find things like an old bell, an ancient shield, or a crystallized Reaverbot eye, amongst other things. And when you bring these things to the curator, she thanks you so much and puts them on display at the museum. You get to watch as the museum gradually gets more and more crowded with every new exhibit you provide, much to the gratitude of the curator. And as it turns out, the reward for this quest isn't simply the warm fuzzy feeling of having helped out the local art community. Once you collect all of the exhibits available, one of the museum's patrons will give you the Prism Crystal, a key component in the creation of the game's ultimate weapon, the Shining Laser, which can vaporize even the game's final boss in literal seconds. The game does a great job of this, hiding insane rewards behind seemingly obscure little side quests that you might not even stumble upon if you're not paying enough attention, encouraging the player to really explore and see everything the game has to offer. You get to collect tools to build this cool-ass clubhouse with these local kids, and they'll end up giving you the X-Buster, yet another component of the Shining Laser. And again, this quest is so tucked away and so easy to miss, you may never even trigger it if you're not combing catalogs. A lot of RPGs suffer from having a bunch of convoluted side quests that rarely ever offer a payoff that feels adequate to the effort that you put in. Mega Man Legends does not have this issue. Most side quests are quick and easy, admittedly a little too easy at times, and they usually always offer a reward that makes you go, oh damn, that's tight. These side quests do a lot to bring this world to life. Even random NPCs will have little backstories or cool moments. You see this lady and her husband at the grocery store, and though they are very easy to ignore and offer absolutely nothing beneficial to the player, if you talk to them, you find out that the woman is pregnant. Later on in the game, you may be passing by their shop and realize that she's missing. You talk to the man, and he tells you that his wife went on a walk, but it's been a little longer than normal. If you go poking around outside the city limits, you'll find her keeled over in a lot of pain. You bring her to the hospital and she ends up having her baby, happy and healthy thanks to you. Like, what? These are two NPCs, I literally didn't even give them a second thought, and I just saved their unborn child's life. And I'm just throwing out examples here. I haven't even touched on half of the shit that this game offers. And this is my answer when people ask me why I love this game so much. It's just fun. There is so much to explore, so much to find. You don't end up caring as much about the ease of the dungeons and bosses because there's so much going on elsewhere. There's so much content to find, so many hidden gems, so many sweet little character moments. I love exploring the ruins for parts to bring to roll. I still haven't created every item or weapon the game has to offer, nor have I mastered this stupid fucking balloon popping game. This shit is sadistic. You really end up feeling attached to just about every character in this game, from Mega Man and Roll all the way down to the most random NPCs. Maybe most surprising of all is how much you'll end up loving Teasel Bon. He easily has the funniest lines as well as the most character growth of anyone in the game. Like when you blast down the Gettle shaft and the bombs are falling out of the sky facing certain death, and all Teasel has to say is,
Teasel? I lost.
Don't worry your pretty little head over it, Tron. We tried our best, but sometimes your best isn't good enough. We lost fair and square. That's life.
or when you face the Bonds for the final time, having bested them yet again, and Teasel finally acknowledges you as almost equals.
Okay, Blue Boy, I must know, what's your name?
Me? My name is Megaman. Megaman Volnut.
Megaman, is it? You know, I've been in this business a long time, but this is the first time anyone's ever given me this much trouble. Yet, it feels good somehow, being beaten by you like this. Almost as though I've met my match.
Teasel!
I can face the facts. I lost, you won. I'm gonna try to forget this entire incident. Ah, it feels good to say that. My heart feels as clean as the blue sky on a cloudless day. See you around, Mega Man.
Wait!
Does this mean I'll never see him again?
Tron. Once he finds the treasure, we'll wait for our chance and take it from him.
What?
You didn't think I was going to just walk away, did you?
Oh, of course not. Now that's the Teasel I know.
You bet it is. Old Teasel never gives up. I'll get that treasure sooner or later, one way or the other.
God damn, I love Teasel. And Robert Smith does a fantastic job voicing his character, seriously. This performance transcends anything we deserve from a PS1 Mega Man game. The voice acting in general in this game is way better than it has any right to be. So many people write this game off simply for its bad controls, ease of enemies, and simplicity of dungeons. Just another 3D fumble from a beloved franchise that should have stayed in 2D where it belongs. But that's the thing. I don't believe Mega Man does belong in 2D. I think there was so much potential here, so much opportunity to create a brand new Mega Man who thrived in this third-person action-adventure genre. I truly think if Capcom had taken the base they established with Mega Man Legends and continued to build upon it, they could have created a monolith of a series. If only they could have isolated these glaring, primarily mechanical issues and honed this idea to perfection. If only we got a Mega Man Legends 2 where we could have fleshed out some of these ideas just a little bit. Oh, wait.
Eden systems ready, awaiting confirmation. Requested backup of bureaucratic model Megaman Juno complete. Execution of Catalog's reinitialization program will commence in 100 seconds.
What should I do?
Interrupt command. Priority command rerouted to Purifier First Class Mega Man Trigger. Under suspicion of malfunction, Bureaucratic Model Third Class Juno has been deactivated by Mega Man Trigger as per Ordinance 103. Mega Man Trigger hereby requests the indefinite postponement of the previous reinitialization order and the deletion of Bureaucratic Model Juno's backup data. Trigger hereby assumes all bureaucratic authority for the district and will petition Mother for guidance at a future date.
Command reroute acknowledged. Priority given to Purifier First Class's command. Eden resuming standby mode and returning to pre-designated coordinates. Deleting log of Purifier First Class's correspondence as required by security ordinances. Requesting that notification to Mother be carried out by Purifier First Class, present bureaucratic authority, trigger.
For those of you unfamiliar with the unfortunate story of Mega Man Legends, allow me to bring you up to speed. When Mega Man Legends dropped, it didn't exactly light the world on fire. Sales capped under 1 million, landing right around 830K to be exact. Not exactly the launch Inafune was hoping for his shiny new 3D reimagining. But hey, 3D was still this big, new, scary thing, right? There were still bugs to work out. Surely if they tried again, created a sequel that remedied a lot of these hardware-related issues, surely the fans would respond, and the Mega Man Legends series would soar to new heights. Yeah, okay. I can't really get angry at Capcom for pulling the plug on this one. Yes, Legends 2 did go on to improve many of the pain points from the original. I've already mentioned what a difference dual analog made, but they also added traversal of multiple islands with the flutter, significantly improving dungeon and overworld design, offering more varied locations like jungles and tundras instead of just being stuck on catalogs. They also noticeably upped the difficulty and improved boss encounters and enemy encounters overall, as they were able to develop the game with dual analog in mind, leading to more interesting, fast-paced, and layered confrontations, if only a bit more so. It was still the PS1 after all. But as they say, too little, too late. The damage was already done. The Mega Man Legends franchise was written off, over as quickly as it started. Legends 2 didn't hit shelves until 2000, and by then the 3D formula was already in full effect, being mastered by developers dropping new, blockbuster 3D titles left, right, and center. Capcom didn't feel too compelled to keep pouring money into this blossoming franchise if consumers clearly didn't have any interest. And so Capcom pulled Mega Man out of 3D, and although Keiji Inafune would still achieve his dream of reinventing the Mega Man franchise, he would have to settle for doing so in 2D. with the Mega Man Battle Network series in 2001. Now, the Battle Network series is great. I love Battle Network, and while it does have its own smorgasbord of issues, it's one of my favorite GBA series straight up. In fact, I plan on doing a video on it sometime in the future. Battle Network would go on to have 6 main title games, multiple spin-offs, an anime series, and was a massive hit, making Capcom a metric buttload of cash. And during Battle Network's run, the acclaimed Mega Man Zero series also launched for the GBA in 2002, and also sold pretty well. So for those keeping score at home, this means that between the years of 1993 and 2002, there were games released for 5 different Mega Man series. Mega Man, Mega Man X, Mega Man Legends, Mega Man Battle Network, and Mega Man Zero. Many of which were releasing at the same time on the same hardware. Like, chill the fuck out, Capcom, my god. No wonder Legends got lost in the noise. And although Legends was the low-selling 3D black sheep amongst these more popular 2D Mega Men, Keiji Inafune himself has been quoted as saying, "My favorite game is Mega Man Legends," a title that really didn't sell well in the Mega Man franchise. Keiji knew that they had something special in Legends. He knew the potential that Legends had as a 3D Mega Man RPG, and he never gave up on that potential either. And so, in October 2010, Capcom announced Mega Man Legends 3 was in development for the 3DS. Dog! Oh my god, we're finally gonna get it. After all this time, 10 years, a decade I've been waiting. Oh, Keiji left Capcom. Keiji left, okay, that's disconcerting, but they're still making the game. They're still making, okay, so Keiji's not going to be working on it, but they're still okay, I mean, this could still be good. They're Capcom, they get Mega Man, and it could still, and it's canceled. The game's canceled. This was heartbreaking for Legends fans, to have so much hope rain down upon them from the Capcom heavens, only to realize it was just pee all along. This was not made any easier by the fact that Legends 2 ended on a huge cliffhanger, like a massive cliffhanger. And unfortunately, over another decade later in Mega Man Legends 3 is still just a legend. And it's hard to have any hope that this series will ever be revisited by Capcom, as they've pretty much ceased coming out with new Mega Man games, opting instead to cash in on nostalgia with Legacy Collection releases of their old titles. I mean, they have $1 billion to choose from, and nostalgia's a real money spinner, so Mega Man burned too brightly too quickly. Capcom didn't have any focus on what they wanted the Mega Man franchise to be, instead creating spin-off series after spin-off series to the point where you could ask anyone born in the 90s what game they think of when they hear Mega Man, and they could realistically give you any of these answers. They saturated the market with different iterations of the Blue Bomber and ultimately ended up cheapening the legacy that he might have had, like making a copy of a copy of a copy until it's faded and unreadable. Seriously, I believe that this is why Mega Man doesn't stand up there with Mario, Link, and Sonic as icons, and why new Mega Man titles are so hard to come by these days, the last one being Mega Man 11 in 2018, and 10 years of radio silence before that. And for my money, I think the biggest misstep was giving up on 3D Mega Man. And yes, I saw the sales numbers, I'm the one making the video, remember? But even if they didn't continue with the Legends series specifically, I believe that the Mega Man IP is made for 3D. Mega Man third-person action-adventure shooter. Just say the words out loud. Legends is a cult classic for a reason. I still play these games today because they are genuinely fun, and I can feel the genius buried under the limitations of its time. I believe a PS5 modern reimagining of what Legends is would set the world on fire. And maybe that's it. Maybe Legends was just a bit too early, trying to make these incredible ideas work on a system that simply didn't allow for the breadth of its ambition. Or maybe I'm just an idiot, who's blinded by nostalgia goggles and just wants a modern 3D Mega Man for God's sake. Be sure to let me know in the comments. But more than anything, if you haven't yet, give these games a shot. Go play Mega Man Legends or Mega Man 64 if you prefer, play Legends 2 if you can, and then imagine what a Legends 3 could have been. And then join me in shouting to the Capcom P-Gods to please, please get our Blue Boy off that damn moon. Also, The Misadventures of Tronbon was a release